This is about 1570 years ago when many barbarian tribes attacked the Roman Empire. Barbarians and Huns attacked many cities of the Roman Empire and caused a lot of destruction. The people living there wanted to run away to save their lives. But on one side, there was the Adriatic Sea, and on the other side, the Tyrrhenian Sea was blocking their path. They had only one option left, so they started running towards the nearby islands in the sea. After reaching there, they were saved from the attacks. But these islands were built in the coastal lake, whose soil was so soft that even a human could not walk on them. It could not have survived on it, but against all odds, these people not only settled here, but also displayed one feat of engineering after another. Buildings, canals, and even bridges. Even without clean drinking water, the Venetians still made it a popular place. The most powerful city was built. But how was this possible? How was such a big city built on those small islands on which it was impossible to even stand? That too about 1,000 years ago. The people who had initially left the Nazarene Roman cities and migrated to these islands had no place to live, as the ground was soft and mud-like, and anything placed on it would sink in. Many people then suggested going back to the shore, but returning meant death. The barbarians and the Huns were nomadic tribes of northern Europe who took advantage of the weakness of the Roman Empire and attacked this place. The situation was so grave at that time that they had to live on these soft islands, 5 kilometers from the shore. There were more than 150 small marshy islands every 100 kilometers, but the condition of all of them was the same. Meanwhile, one of the refugees was sinking into the ground. To save himself, he buried the paddle of his boat in the ground. It became completely solid after sinking several feet. This is where he got the idea which later became the foundation of Venice City. From here, a few kilometers away, where Croatia is today, tree trunks were brought from the forest there and were placed on marshy islands. They were buried inside by hammering. After going down about 5 meters, these stems would get a grip on the hard soil of the ground. They were hammered close to each other so that a stable platform could be made. After putting the piles in, the upper part was cut and leveled, and wooden planks were laid on it so that the entire load could be equally divided among the piles. To raise this foundation above the water level, blocks of special limestone were placed. The load of stones was distributed on top and 5 meters below. This simple combination of long wooden piles was enough to make a strong foundation. The wooden trunks, which were now underwater, swelled and became tight to each other, and there was no space left for air to pass between them. This is the reason why the piles in Venice were built close to each other. They were buried 1,000 years ago and are still in perfect condition, bearing the weight of the city. After laying the foundation, the work of building buildings on it was started. Initially, the Venetians built wooden houses, but they often caught fire during cooking. Later, the use of bricks also started. To keep the buildings light, houses were not bigger than 3 stories. A special mortar made of limestone powder was put between the bricks so that the walls remained flexible along with being strong. The floors and inner walls were made of wooden planks, which were held from outside by iron rods. This idea became very famous in Venice, and in this way, the island started getting filled with houses. Normally, cities expand outward, but in Venice, the city has spread inward. Earlier, the only way to go from one island to another was by boat. But later, when the population increased, the island started coming closer and closer. Now, in shallow water, people could sit on horses between them. These islands could also be crossed. Now, the biggest need in Venice City was to connect these islands with each other. For the first 500 years, these islands were not connected with each other. But when the population increased a lot and the business started to grow, this place became a hub of connectivity. The business hub is called ℍ𝕖𝕩. First of all, a simple wooden bridge was built. This bridge is called a ponto bridge, in which a passage is made with the help of floats. This bridge made it easy to reach the bridge, but because it was standing with the support of floats, it used to shake a lot, and people often fell from it. Later, a permanent wooden bridge was also built here, but in the year 1310, due to a riot, it was set on fire. Even after the fire, the wooden bridge stood for the next 140 years. But finally, in the year 1444, it was decided to build the first stone bridge of Venice to connect the rails. The same method was used to build it, which was used to build thousands of houses here. More than 12,000 wooden piles were driven into the canal bank, and a stone arch bridge weighing 10,000 tons was constructed on them. This bridge was so successful that stone bridges began to be built in the same way all over Venice. Even today, this bridge stands firmly, bearing the weight of people standing on it. With the help of these bridges, it has become easier to go from one island to another. Venice City does not have roads but only canals, and by using these canals, one can go from one place to another. This benefited Venice in that it was easy to carry goods. It is very easy to reach any corner of the city. Normal cities at that time had only one path for pedestrians and horse carts, which caused a lot of congestion. But Venice was completely different. Here, the path for pedestrians was a canal. It is completely different from the boats running in the canal, and the biggest advantage is that one can get down anywhere on the canal and reach home quickly. Venice soon became the most powerful and rich city in Europe, and the biggest reason for this was its location. If you look at the map, the Adriatic Sea is at whose end is Venice, and this sea directly meets the Mediterranean Sea. The Mediterranean Sea is connected to Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. Even today, the easiest and cheapest way of goods transport is considered to be the internal route. Ships could easily reach the end of the Adriatic Sea, where Venice is today. Of course, East Europe was linked to the West by land, but since ships were the only means of transport at that time, all goods were sent to the Mediterranean and then to the Adriatic Sea by ships. Since the number of cargo ships coming here was high, cheap cargo ships were also available from Venice to send goods from Western Europe to Eastern Europe because they had to return empty. Due to business activities, the Venetians became very wealthy. Seeing this, people from the surrounding countries also started settling in Venice, and the population of this place increased very quickly. Now the demand for drinking water in Venice increased beyond limits. It is surrounded by water on all sides, but this is salty seawater, which cannot be drunk. Due to the absence of natural springs or rivers, fresh water did not accumulate here. Drinking water in Venice was brought from the mainland in drums and carried in boats. But when the population of Venice increased to 170,000, there was a shortage of water. At this point, the Venetian engineers had to use their brains once again. Something had to be done so that the growing population of Venice could get drinking water. On those islands where no construction had been done, a deep pit was dug to collect rainwater, and its walls were made waterproof using mud and gravel. A well was made in these pits, and sand and stones were put around it. By putting tiles on it, the surface was made plain again, leaving some holes on the surface through which the rainwater could enter. When this water got collected in the well after passing through sand and stones, it also got filtered. This is the natural process of water filtration. When rainwater comes down from the mountains in the form of springs, passing through stones and minerals, it becomes clean and drinkable. This filter system of Venice worked on this basis. Pipes were installed on the roofs of nearby houses. Rainwater started pouring directly into this filter. The surface area for water collection was increased. Soon, more than 600 small and big filter wells were installed in Venice. 10 to 12 houses together could be connected to one filter. The Venetians once again created a masterpiece to save their city. But there was still a big issue in Venice: sewerage. Normally, cities have underground sewerage lines that take the sewage away from the city. But if there is no ground in Venice, where will the sewerage lines be laid? People in Venice used to throw the waste in the canal. But those whose houses did not have any canal passing directly in front of them used to throw their garbage on the pathways, due to which these pathways often became filled with bad odor. In the 16th century, the Venetians built drains for waste collection from homes, with the help of which the waste fell directly into the canal. These drains were kept above the normal level of the canal, due to which the liquid waste of the drains fell into the canal immediately, but the solid waste did not fall into the canal. It remained in the drain, and during high tide, the water pulled the solid waste present inside the drains into the canal. Due to high and low tides, twice a day, seawater would enter Venice's canals and replace the polluted water. This way, not only the drains of the houses, but also Venice's canals would remain clean. Because it is salt water, which does not cause any disease, it also works as an effect. Even today, the same sewerage system is working in Venice. Surprisingly, the engineering that was used to build Venice 1,000 years ago is still working to date. Building, foundation, canal, bridges, and sewerage. Venice is slowly sinking into the ground. This is a natural process, due to which this city is sinking 1 to 2 millimeters every year. This is the only city in the world where there are no cars or motorbikes. There is a flood every year, called acqua alta. In winter, the water level here rises a lot, and often the walkways go underwater. Every year, 6 million people visit Venice, but right now the local population here is less than 50,000. You all will like and share this video. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next amazing video.